Have you ever felt like you're just going through the motions? You have the stable job, the long-term partner, the comfortable routine, but deep down there's a whisper of discontent, a feeling that something vital is missing. This is Maya's story. On the surface, her life was a picture of success. A senior marketing manager in a 15-year relationship with a kind man named Mark. Their life was a well-oiled machine, predictable and safe. But for Maya, that predictability had started to feel less like comfort and more like a cage. The vibrant, adventurous girl she once was, the girl who dreamed of opening a small art gallery by the sea, felt like a distant memory, a character from a book she'd long since closed. One sunny afternoon, a new graphic designer joined her team. His name was Daniel. He was 10 years younger, full of raw energy and passion. He talked about his weekend trips to the mountains, his passion for photography, and his dream of one day documenting cultures around the world. Every word he spoke seemed to echo the dreams Maya had packed away in a dusty box in the attic of her mind. She found herself drawn to his energy, his infectious laugh, his fearless approach to life. It started with professional admiration, but soon, it morphed into something more. She found excuses to work late with him, her heart thumping a little faster when their hands brushed as they reached for the same coffee pot. She started dressing up for work, a little more makeup here, a new stylish blouse there. This intense attraction felt like a jolt of electricity through her quiet life. She convinced herself she was falling in love with Daniel. This must be it, right? The spark she'd been missing. The universe was sending her a sign, a chance to escape her beige-colored existence. She imagined a new life with him, spontaneous, exciting, and full of passion. The thought was intoxicating. She started pulling away from Mark, the comfortable silence between them now feeling heavy and suffocating. Every one of Mark's predictable habits, which she once found endearing, now grated on her nerves. He represented the life she so desperately wanted to flee, while Daniel represented the thrilling escape. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, she and Daniel went for a drink. The conversation was light and easy. He talked excitedly about a photography workshop he was planning to attend in Morocco. As he described the vibrant colors of the markets and the ancient architecture, Maya felt a sharp pang, not of desire for him but of envy. Pure, unadulterated envy. He was living. He was chasing his passions without a second thought. And she was just watching. In that moment, sitting across from him in the dimly lit bar, a profound realization washed over her. It was like a movie scene where the camera suddenly pulls back, revealing the entire set. She wasn't in love with Daniel. How could she be? She barely knew the man behind the vibrant facade. No, she was in love with what he represented. He was a living, breathing symbol of her own abandoned dreams. His passion for photography mirrored her forgotten love for curating art. His adventurous spirit was the ghost of her own youthful wanderlust. He was a mirror, and looking at him forced her to see the parts of herself she had neglected for 15 years. This attraction wasn't a romantic detour. It was a desperate wake-up call from her own soul. The intense feelings weren't about him at all. They were about her. It was her own unlived life screaming to be noticed. The revelation was both devastating and liberating. The infatuation with Daniel evaporated almost instantly, replaced by a quiet, urgent need for self-reflection. The next day, she called in sick to work. She didn't want to see Daniel. She didn't want the distraction. Instead, she drove to the coast, the same coast where she had once dreamed of opening her art gallery. She walked along the beach, the cold sea air filling her lungs, clearing her head. She thought about the choices she'd made. She had chosen security over passion, comfort over risk. And she couldn't blame Mark for that. He had offered her a steady, loving partnership and she had accepted it, tucking her own dreams away for a someday that never came. The problem wasn't her relationship. The problem was her relationship with herself. She had abandoned herself. That evening, she went home and had the most honest conversation she'd ever had with Mark. She didn't mention Daniel. He was irrelevant. Instead, she talked about the gallery, about her forgotten passion for art, about the feeling of being a stranger in her own life. She cried not for a lost love, but for her lost self. To her surprise, Mark didn't get angry or defensive. He listened. He looked at her with a sadness she hadn't seen before and said, "I think I've seen you fading for a while now. Maya, I just didn't know how to help you find your way back." His words were a balm. It wasn't about leaving him. It was about finding herself again with him. So Maya began her journey back to herself. It wasn't about blowing up her life. It was about integrating the parts she'd left behind. She enrolled in a weekend art history course. She started visiting local galleries again, not just as a visitor, but as a student, reigniting her critical eye. She and Mark started taking weekend trips, not to extravagant places, but to small towns with quirky art scenes. They started talking again, really talking, about their dreams, both individual and shared. She still saw Daniel at work, but the intense charge was gone. He was just a colleague now, a nice young man with his own life to live. The mirror he had held up was no longer needed because she was finally looking at herself. This story is a powerful reminder. Sometimes, a strong attraction to someone new isn't about them. It's a signal. It's your subconscious mind trying to tell you something important about your own life. It's a spotlight shining on the needs you've ignored, the passions you've buried, and the growth you're craving. Before you decide an external person is the answer to your internal emptiness, take a moment. Look inward. What is this person's energy reflecting back to you? What parts of your own life are crying out for attention? The most transformative love story is often the one where you learn to fall back in love with yourself and the life you have the power to create. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content that makes you think. See you next time.